I'm happy you're here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So you are a marketer extraordinaire and have
Ooh,
been for a
tell me
long
more.
time. But you've kind of been in the fashion realm for a long time. How did you get excited about fashion? How did you get into fashion?
So for me, it was sort of like what I saw in the movies. I'm like, oh, I want to work in, air quotes marketing, and I want to work in fashion because that's like what cool people do.
Yeah.
That was like
Yeah.
literally without any understanding of what that meant.
Yeah.
And even marketing to me, like I didn't know like what advertising versus PR
Yeah,
versus
same.
like any of those things
Right.
actually stood for.
Yeah.
So I kind of just like went for it in the sense of like, that's the path I thought I should take because that's sort of like what I felt was like cool.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just like became a personal passion. I mean, who
Yeah.
doesn't love clothes, right?
Clothes,
And
shoes,
yeah,
the whole thing.
the whole thing. Who
Yeah.
doesn't, love shopping?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people out there, but we don't know them, obviously. And it just kind of became this both personal and professional kind of intersection.
Yeah.
Where I really started to get invested in the idea of personal style and understanding what drives a person to want to own a piece of something.
Yeah.
And it almost, at one point I was like, oh, I'm going to be a pediatrician.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, my blood. And feels like this might not be the path for me.
Yeah.
And, kind of thinking about the psyche and what drives people, but also in a industry that feels really personal
Yeah.
was just actually fun.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that sometimes fashion gets a bad rap for being like vapid. But truth be told, it can be a beautiful thing. It can be wearable art. It can be your expression of yourself. It is your expression of yourself.
It's so true. And it's funny because I remember, I think there's this, or there was at least when I was growing up, this sense of working in retail almost being like a blue collar job. Not necessarily in the corporate sense, but like working in a store and all those things. It is the hardest job. It is the most taxing and
Physical.
Yes, physical and mental. You have to know your customer. You have to know the product. You have to know your sales goals. There is so much more to it, to your point. And yes, of course, there's that element of it that is a little bit superficial, but there's also such a business behind it. And it's really interesting to think about the layers of it. And, now working for a DTC only brand and only really having that sense of like knowing your customer behind a screen
Yeah.
is even more challenging.
Yeah.
Because that feedback I realize is so valuable when you can get true insight from
People
a customer.
putting on shoes in a store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess to that point, have you guys thought about sort of the IRL? I know you've done some IRL event stuff this year.
Yep.
Like, is that something on the road?
Very top of mind.
Yeah.
I think we have to figure out the right time, the right place, and really just sort of work out the kinks a little bit
Yeah.
because doing these tests will give us a better sense of what people experience. And it's so funny too, because when I have seen the in-person sort of aha moment, people
yeah.
putting on the shoes and having that like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
this is actually comfortable. And this is
It is
actually
comfortable
cool.
and cute.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly.
I went
And-
to your Fashion Week event for Sneex, and all the creators that were there were like, these are amazing. Like this, and they had all styled them in different ways, and like they all looked so cute in different ways. And so like, yeah, I think you're right that there is that like, oh shit, this is a comfortable,
Exactly.
cute option.
And that's where I also think too, we have sort of this work cut out for us in a way because we are a brand that is, sort of a white space, right?
It's a category of one.
Yes. And you said that you sent me that as a prep question. And I remember thinking that's such a smart way to say it because, there's certainly been sneakers with a heel stuck on it, right? Or there's been a heel that's been done that sort of emulated the look of a sneaker. But this is truly that hybrid. And it is such a magical experience when you get it on your foot. So I've got to crack the code of getting this on more women's feet.
Right. Because otherwise it's like this conceptual thing and you see it and you're like, I don't know. Like, again, it's a category of one. You have like, how do you break into the market? It's so interesting. I was just reading this case study about Sara Lee tried to launch pods, like Nespresso pods,
yeah?
in the US. And they couldn't make it work because the market in the US was too big that they couldn't penetrate they couldn't basically get through the tough part. They didn't have the budget to get through the penetration part and get it actually into people's hands and get people trying it, which then would tip them over the scale. So what they did is they went to Denmark, and the market was small enough in Denmark that they were actually able to like reach the tipping point, and now it's like in 40% of Danish houses, which is crazy.
So I have to sell these shoes in Denmark.
Apparently. No, I just think it's interesting, like, because the US is so big, it's such a behemoth, it's so complex. Like, how do you guys think about that? Like, well, okay, great. Like, how do we get it onto the feet of, I don't know, what, 100 million women that, you know, are in your target demo?
God's ears.
Yeah.
Listen, I think that it's all about really normalizing the shoes. Mm-hmm. We, you know, of course, want to get shoes on people who are super recognizable and have a really strong network and really big reach, right? I think people like that are so important because it does have a level of awareness and visibility that truly is important. But when you think about walking into any room, right, a restaurant, a party, a get-together with friends, an office, and you start to see Sneex on a regular basis, just like you used to see a Birkenstock or an UGG or a Croc. I mean,
remember when Uggs were like not a thing, and they like, and now they like,
you can't walk anywhere without seeing it. And so I
100%.
think if we can start to get it in the hands of women who will then start to wear it, just essentially like they wear their regular footwear, just like you put on a sneaker, it starts to create this sense of like, oh, I've seen that.
Yes.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yes.
And then you start to create this recognition, this desirability, and then
it's like number one thing is you have to have people know what it is.
Correct.
You have to have them see it, and then they have to be able to picture themselves in it. It's so interesting. I mean, what a fun challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge, and I've been totally working my hustle muscle, right? Like startup land is definitely different. I've never worked at a startup before. I only ever worked at established brands. So this,
do you wear like a lot more hats, or how do you?
Yeah, I mean, you're rolling up your sleeves. You are strategy one day, tactical the next. You know, we're doing this pop up tomorrow, as you know, and we're opening boxes. We're pulling out tissue paper from inside the shoes. I made 3 signs yesterday. I was putting gifts in gift bags. I just feel like that sense of kind of really doing it all is fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's so cool.
And you came from like you've gone like bigger, smaller, right, into startup land. And so like, I assume when you were at Veronica Beard, you didn't have as much hands-on, I guess, like as many hats. Bigger. So it was a bigger team.
The team was bigger, right? So we just had more resources, and you know that is within the team as well as within the budgets.
Yeah.
And here it's like we're super scrappy, but
and you're building something
in the most fun way possible. Yeah. Right? Because like for me, we're just laughing a lot. We're having a really good time. Oh man. I mean, you should have seen us. Like, I mean, between just like all the empty boxes and trying to break them down and bringing them to the trash bin, and then like we're really having the best time.
That's
and
awesome.
I hope we look back one day when this is as big as Spanx was,
100%.
is hopefully, and we talk about
remember those
when.
days.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I really do believe that like the companies that have the happiest people that are having the most fun are the ones that are going to succeed. So it's like, okay, you're already winning. Like you're already, you know.
And it's only 4 of us. So it's interesting, awesome. Right? Because like one of the things I have sort of learned over the years, right, is I used to go in when I was hiring teams and I was looking at people's resumes and I wanted to see where they went to college and what they studied and what their internships were. And all those things are certainly things to consider, right? But I recently saw Hoda Kotb speak, and she told the crowd that she hires enthusiasm. And that to me stuck so much because that's what I want. I want the passion. I want the drive. I want the...
What if we tried this?
The energy,
what
right?
If we did this?
The creativity, the ideas.
Yeah.
And it has changed the way that I look at building teams.
For sure.
Because it just makes you think differently about like, okay, someone might not be the subject matter expert in every single area, but they will beat out someone who isn't a culture fit every single time.
100%. It's funny too. I think that's becoming even more important. Like I think you used to be able to skirt by a little bit more with like they went to Harvard and they have a, and now I think that like, especially in the world of like AI and students are going to be using AI to like information is almost like commoditized. And so the differentiator for people, as you said, is energy, it's enthusiasm. And like you kind of, I guess you can teach that, but like you kind of can't teach that. Like it's kind, you know what I mean? So like how do you judge that? How do you like?
I honestly think you know.
Yeah.
I truly do. Like it's like when I met you, right? I met you in 5 seconds. I'm like, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
You know, you just feel it.
You know, yeah.
I think you do. It's the way someone speaks about the brand. It's the way someone speaks about their experience. It's the way someone, you know, honestly prepares for something, right?
Yeah.
Like they come in and you can tell if they have actually thought through what this is about,
Right.
or they've just sort of come in and they're winging it.
Yeah.
And I think that there's just an element of connectivity with someone that you just
you
can't
it.
really describe it, but you know.
Yeah, I get that.
Right? I mean, there's honestly sometimes in 2 seconds I'm on a call with someone, I'm like, it's a no.
It's going to be a no from me, dog.
But like, you know, and they might, again, be amazing on paper and fantastic at what they do and great for someone else.
And for somebody else. It's like dating.
Correct.
It's like you're never going to be
It's so
everyone's
true.
cup of tea. You're just going to, it's the right situation, the right company, the right fit. Like
It's so true.
You know. Okay, so you are a mom and a marketer and also just a cool gal. Like how do you balance and maybe that's even just like a fake word and we should stop talking about it, but how do you balance all of the plates that you have spinning in there?
I really don't. I'm not going to lie. I try to do it all, but it is just not possible. And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
You have to accept that. I know people say that all the time, but it is super true, right?
Yeah.
Like I had something last night that I really wanted to show up for a friend for. I needed to be there for my kid. She had a homework assignment that she needed help with. I had to prioritize my family, and I felt like I made the right choice.
Yeah.
Disappointed a friend, but I also feel like she'll understand.
Yeah.
We'll be okay.
Yeah.
I also think that there's a little bit more of a sense today that I can say no. I used to want to not disappoint anyone. That was such a raw thing for me, right?
Yeah.
Like
people pleaser.
Yes. And it's terrible in a way.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you feel this sense of commitment to people. And I want to teach my children that. I want to, you know, still have that sense that you can count on me. But there are certain times where I have to say, you know what? I can't do everything. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But it is hard.
Yeah.
Like
my therapist
really
had me
hard.
write on a index card yes on one side and no on the other, and then she had me hold it up when somebody asked me something, and she's like, okay, so if yes is pointing at them, what's pointing at you? It's no.
Ooh.
And so it's like when you're and she had me do that with a number of different questions that I was like dealing with, and it was like she's like every single time you just said no to yourself.
I love this. This is amazing. See?
Yeah.
It's so, and so I, funny enough, with my team the other day, and I've done this with my kids before, we did this exercise where it was, you draw a circle, and in the circle you write what you can influence and what you really just can't control.
Yeah.
You also really, sometimes if you sit back and think about, okay, these are the things that I can actually affect versus the things that are just completely out of my hands.
Yeah.
It does help you kind of put it in perspective, right?
Yes.
Like I take, one of the things I used to think about at work was I feel really deeply. And that's just, you know, I think a genuine quality about me that I used to think was somewhat of potential like drainer, right? And now I think it's actually a really big strength because you can be sympathetic, you can be empathetic, you can really try to understand what people are going through, but you also can try to take a step back and understand that like not everyone's going to be happy.
Yeah. And it's not your job. I think that's a little bit of the people pleaser's dilemma is that it's not your job to make someone else happy.
I know.
It's only your job to like, you know, be kind and to be honest and to tell the truth. And like, if they take that a certain way or if they're disappointed, like they're allowed to have those feelings too, but it's not necessarily your responsibility to try to manage those
It's
feelings.
true. And also to learn from it, right? Because sometimes the way that I think I can respond, should respond, have responded, sometimes I learn like, oh, actually, if I see it from this perspective, maybe I could have done something differently. Someone once told me, and I wish I had done this, but maybe I'll start in the new year, that at the end of the day, they reflect on one thing that they feel that they could have done differently.
Okay.
Every single day. And, it could be something super small, right? Like I wish I'd taken out the trash and not left it till the morning. Mm-hmm. It could be that, or it could be something big, like decision you made at work, or something personal that, actually has, real meaning. Mm-hmm. But just that reflection of like how, not necessarily could I do better, but what could I do differently? Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting way to look at just like a 24-hour period, right? And I would imagine that every day there is something that you might want to change, or even just think about like, if I had changed it.
Could I have handled that differently? Like there's definitely things that have happened to me in the moment where I'll like react to something. And then you're looking back on it and you're like, could I have not reacted in that way?
Or why did I care so much?
Right, exactly.
I find that a lot, like especially having kids, right? Mm-hmm. Like sometimes in the moment you're like, oof, you just get that sense of like, really like you couldn't do your homework and now it's 9 p.m. and I just got home and now I have to sit with you and do your homework.
Do that. Now this is my responsibility.
Exactly.
Like you put this on
or you couldn't clean your room, or you had to leave this to the last minute. And sometimes I find myself like the initial gut reaction is to be like annoyed, mad, and and then I'm like, I haven't seen you all day. Yeah. Was that the best way to handle this after I haven't seen you since 7 a.m.? Probably not. Yeah. But like, you get that. And so I'm also trying to like, be a little better about just kind of being aware of how I'm reacting and how I'm handling things.
Yeah. Do you think that being a mom, and like now that you're a mom of a 14 and a 9-year-old, is that right? 11.
Yeah.
14 and 11. Do you think that that's made you like more mature, a better leader, a better like employee? Like, do you think that it's...
I would say, it made me better. I think it's made me more aware and more sort of a different perspective. Yeah. Meaning, it's funny. I spoke to a team member this morning, right, who is probably about, 6 or 7 years younger than me.
Okay.
And, I grew up in a era where I was at my desk 5 days a week.
Oh, yeah.
I was working
millennial culture.
At, 6 p.m. on a Friday.
Elder millennials.
In my office. Yeah. And like, honestly, now, that seems like total distant future. And by the way, it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't that long ago.
I know. Things really did change after the pandemic.
It really did. And, some for good, some maybe not for good.
Yeah.
But I think that I'm, as a mom, more aware of the things that another working mom might be going through. Mm-hmm. I'm also a little bit more maternal with my team who is younger because, I have someone on my team who's sick today. I'm like, did you go to the doctor? Like, please don't come in. Take care of yourself. Like that kind of stuff where before I might not have been as...
You might have been eye rolling or something.
Yeah. And then on top of it, I think this sense of also thinking these... if I'm laughing, but kids, right? They don't know any different.
Yeah.
And so I have to like sort of take a step back and say, as a mom, as a elder, a seasoned leader, how do I, one, teach them, but then also learn from them?
Yeah. Because it's like... You also probably remember your early teachers, mentors, like the people that influenced you, and they had to do the same thing. They had to have that decision where they were like, Rachel's acting like an idiot or Lauren's acting like an idiot. Yeah. And how do I model a good behavior? How do I like give feedback in a constructive way? Right? So it's like now you get to do that and sort of pay it forward.
It's true. And it's interesting because you sort of look back at who you were, right? When I started out, just out of school, 22 years old, I thought I had all the answers.
Oh, totally.
Totally. I thought I was the coolest. Yes. Like, I'm working at Calvin Klein. I'm like in the big city, like very just like, check, bucket list. Mm-hmm. And I remember you had asked an interesting question when, we were prepping, and I was thinking about this sense in my first 2 jobs out of school where I had this sort of like superstar kind of, like everyone was like, Rachel's amazing. Like, I just like, I mean, I was like an assistant. I was like nothing, but
right. But still,
I always had this like sense that I was like, I'm
crushing.
rocking this. Yeah. And then my third job is at a British fashion company, and I was not crushing it. And I don't think I was necessarily not doing good work. I just wasn't connecting.
Yeah.
I wasn't really gelling with the leaders and the team in the cultural fit way that we were speaking about before. And it was the first time where I was like, oh. And I'll never forget that feeling. Like the feeling of failing and the feeling of like just not being that like top of your game was pretty humbling.
Yeah.
And I remember it wasn't even my boss at the time. It was, a sort of my boss's colleague, if you will, but someone I worked very closely with. He sat me down, I'll never forget. And he was like, you need to think about the tone when you speak to people. You need to think about the words you use. And it was such an eye-opening moment for me because I always thought I was so aware and lovely and kind and
I mean, you were 22, you knew everything.
And I was shocked. I was truly shocked. I just remember thinking like, oh my God, like what must I be coming across like, right?
Yeah.
And it even though it was so hard to hear.
Yeah.
And I should reach out to this guy at some point and thank him.
Yeah.
His name's John Elin. He was the head of sales at Burberry at the time. And he really made a mark on me because it changed the way that I approached
and thank
people,
God.
Right?
Because otherwise you would have just kept, you need those people to like course correct you and be like, that's not how we do things. We do them this way. It's like so you're coming off in this way. It's all feedback that's like helpful, And
it's also how you take the feedback, right?
Of course.
Because I sort of knew at the time, I was like, well, I think I got to get out of here because I just felt like at that point, I'm like, all right, this is sort of like where I need to kind of take now this lesson and move on. But I also remember thinking, as hard as this was, as you said, it was a blessing. And it was such a defining moment for me.
Yeah. I love that. What would you tell your young 22-year-old self now if you could give her some advice?
Take some risk, girl.
Yeah.
Like I was so scared of everything. So scared. Like I was one of those people who grew up with this sensibility of like, you never leave a job unless you have another job. You always kind of have a path forward. I was so almost like rigid in my approach to things because I thought there was sort of this succession, right?
Yeah.
It was never like,
you have to do this pathway.
Yes.
It has to look like this.
And like sometimes maybe you take a step back, take a step forward.
Yeah.
I never could do that because it was sort of like, well, if you're a manager and you're not then going to be a senior manager, like you can't take that job.
Yeah.
But maybe you can because it's getting your foot in the door somewhere that you want to be and you could grow.
Yeah.
I was so scared and I was so almost like brainwashed in a way to like think a certain way about my path forward.
Yeah. I mean, that is a little bit of like our parents' generation impact on us too. Like I think for them, it was like any job's a good job and you stay there for 20 years and then you retire and then and it's like, that's obviously like our kids, even just one generation between, like we got a lot of that put on us. Now we're unlearning those lessons, but now our kids are going to be like, I mean, that's not even going to be
it's true, right? But don't you remember, like, I remember looking at resumes, right? And if you saw someone years ago who was like, 18 months here, a year here, 9 months there, 2 years there, you were like, oof, this person is not committed. This person doesn't want to stay. They job hop, like next, right? Now that is almost like a positive in a way, like people getting experience a lot of places. I think people staying places 18 to 24 months, especially when you're younger in your career, is not as frowned upon.
I see that, but then I also do think that there is a little bit of like, when you're young, you do have to stick it out a little. Like you do have to, like, you learn a lot when you stick it out, you know?
It's true, but I don't know that that's the mentality.
Yeah, maybe.
Like I feel like the mentality now is like, you don't have to sort of like prove anything in that way. It's like, if this isn't good for your mental health, if this isn't good for, you know, what your goals are and setting intentions, then you sort of
you don't just
move
have
on.
to suck it up and deal with it. Yeah, no, I get that.
But I think the suck it up culture for sure was learned from our parents.
For sure.
Right? And like
you just keep your head down and you
and you figure it out.
You figure it out.
But I remember not that long ago when I got the call to potentially come work for Sarah Blakely, I was like, okay, I've only been at Veronica Beard for less than 2 years. And I was like, ooh, can I do that? Like, are you allowed?
You're like, is someone gonna...
Do you know what I mean?
Am I
like, is
gonna
there
go
a
to
fine?
jail?
Yeah. Like, you got this sort of like sense of like, ooh, what does that look like? Does it, you know? And
being an adult is so funny.
Right?
Isn't it?
I don't know why. And why did I
care? There's like, who's in charge?
Right.
Because it's
and
probably
I really
it's not me.
It was definitely not me. But I did it, and it was the best decision I've ever made.
I love it.
It's just such a cool, amazing brand to work for,
That's awesome.
amazing founder to work for.
That makes me so happy to hear.
Just like, if anything, I'm learning so much.
That's awesome.
So much.
So cool. I mean, what would you tell a younger person who's like out there right now listening and they're kind of like, I don't know where I should go with my career. What should I do? What should I like? And they're kind of fretting in that same way. Like, what would your advice be to them?
I think sometimes working is learning about what you don't want to do as much as what you do want to do. And it's
like dating.
Honestly, we keep going back to dating. I think there's such parallels here, right?
Parallels. Yeah.
Like, I think there's some kind of like app that we've got to create that's like I've never been on Tinder, but I'm imagining some kind of Tinder-esque thing for
jobs. Yeah. For
like,
sure.
Right? Like taking the idea of like, you know, Indeed or LinkedIn and then like marrying it with like
an
swiping.
IRL meetup. Yeah. I like
a Bumble situation. Like you just all come in and like, if you want this job, there's like 20 of you and then you sort of speed date.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something.
I like it.
I really do. But yeah, no, I think that there's value in trying something and finding out that it's not for you.
Yeah, I agree.
And I also think there's value in a lot of things that might seem trivial,
Yes.
right? Like I've had a lot of people ask me, what do I do if I want to change careers? Or what do I want to do if I want to get into an industry? Like I, for example, always wanted to get into beauty.
Okay.
And I couldn't do it. It was so hard because there was experience that at the time, I don't know if it's still that way, but at the time they wanted that I didn't have. So for example, they would say, oh, do you have wholesale experience? Of course. I grew up in wholesale. I've worked with Neiman's and Saks and Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's and all the big partners. They're like, no. Sephora, Ulta, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, no, of course I don't have that. And how do you get that, right? If I had been really hungry, would have gone to Sephora, would have gone to Ulta, would have gotten a part-time job. And I would have come back and said, well, I haven't worked corporately, but I actually work in Sephora on the weekends and I do XYZ.
And I restock product and I see what I talk to customers and
exactly. But I didn't really think that way. I didn't think as sort of like out of the box as now I'm like, oh.
Right. And I think the younger generation does think that way. Like they
100%.
think much more out of the box. They're like, no, I'm just going to go. And like, I saw this guy in line the other day. He just picks up famous people from the airport as their Uber so that he can get free advice for them while he drives them. I'm like,
I love
okay.
that. Wait, should we do that?
Right.
I don't want to drive, but I'll like sit in the front with you.
Oh man. Well, I'm so glad you came and joined me. And this was such a fun chat.
Thank you.
And I think people will learn a lot from it.
Let's do it again soon.
I love it. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.